Hello. Today's stories come from r/PettyRevenge. We've got 3 stories from a new revenge-themed subreddit, starting with about 5 years ago, my company brought in an individual to see if my position was no longer needed. I passed with flying colors. Not to give too much info away, I was hired at an organization as a job title of basically helper. Well, for someone who is supposed to just be helping, I had a ridiculous amount of work. Almost all of my coworkers were huge technologically illiterate boomers. So I actually sort of thrive this as a very useful person. For example, one guy would spend half his day copying items and pasting them into another program we use. He didn't even use Control C, Control V. He would right click, then copy, then go into the Files menu or something and select Insert Copied Item from Clipboard. He was so proud of himself when he showed me because, don't worry, you won't have to retype everything. I wrote a program to do this automatically, but did not tell him. So I would just run it occasionally as part of my responsibilities. Anyway, I did a lot of stuff like this. I'd estimate I saved about 15 hours of work every day, on top of the 8.5 hours I did too. But then insert Sergeant Jerkface. This wasn't the military, but I just like to call him that. We are having a team meeting when he shows up. White hair, combed okay-ish, a scrunched face, glasses. He just sort of showed up one day and took notes during our morning meeting. At one point, someone brought up a name of one of our customers. I said, "Oh, is that the 300-pound guy with a big beard?" Sort of as a joke because I mostly do back end stuff. There was a guy like this I recently did some entrance stuff for, but I was wrong, and my boss said, "No, it's blah blah, some other person." Okay. Then we talked about that person a bit. Fast forward about a week, and this Sergeant Jerkface is a complete smurf nugget to me. I don't know why. He will ignore me during group conversations and literally sometimes scoff at me. Who actually scoffs at people? I was having a really rough week, looking for some extremely important files. People were yelling all day. I was exasperated. Too much to do. I was having anxiety attacks at home in the middle of the night. But it was Friday, so I was pulling through. As I looked for this file, I ended up deep in our file structure, and the search returned a personal folder structure within one of the drives. I clicked out of curiosity, and there it was, Sergeant Jerkface's notes. I opened it, and there was a whole section about me. This guy basically goes from location to location, getting people fired to save the CEO's money. And he was working on me now. I scrolled through his notes, and at the very top, I saw Frosty thought a 4'10, 24-year-old female patient was a 300-pound bearded man. Clearly atrocious attention to detail. That's just one example of how completely messed up his comments were. So, in combination with the job, which I generally liked and enjoyed helping people, knowing I wasn't getting paid enough for my effort, this horrible week I had, and Sergeant Jerkface's comments, I said, screw this. I set up 3 email configurations. The first to my boss, letting him know I will be taking 2 weeks of vacation time, to be sent at 10 p.m. tonight. The second to the company, letting them know I will not be present for 2 weeks, so whatever work they currently need me to do, they will need to do themselves, to be sent Monday morning at 4 a.m. And the third, for any emails that came in, I set an auto response that said, I will be out for an unknown amount of time. For any routine, emergency, or even occasional items, it is imperative you reach out to Sergeant Jerkface at X email for assistance. Then I turned off every automated task I had ever set up. Then I swung by Jerkface's temporary office and said, I think I found a way to make your job easier. He didn't even really turn his head to look at me, but just raised one eyebrow. Then I left. I actually got multiple calls on Monday morning I didn't answer. It didn't last long apparently, but I stayed strong and didn't respond to anything. On Wednesday, I had a little anxiety about it, but I stayed as strong as I could. I thought about the tasks that needed a 2-day turnaround. There's no way some of the guys were keeping up with their normal duties. Guaranteed, at least 2 people were no longer doing their normal jobs just to keep up with my automated tasks. I got a long email to my personal account. I guess from my resume or when I interviewed, from my boss on Thursday night of the first week, it went something like this. Frosty, I know you're a smart person and probably figured out what the company had us doing. I would say it's very important you call me, but that probably isn't going to work. I see. I've talked with Sergeant Jerkface's boss, and he will be leaving our location. I explained our progress meetings seem to be going in the wrong direction and that you are one of our most valuable employees here. I am sure you are probably looking at other jobs at this point, or maybe you have even started one. I hope not. If you could please reach back to me, I would like to offer you a raise. It has become very apparent how useful you are around here. I hear about it every day. Believe me. So I came back on Monday with a $10,000 raise and Sergeant Jerkface out of my face. My boss apologized again in person and said he didn't get a say in it. I think it's a little weird he could have a say after I left, but not before. But I sort of get it. Seems a bit dodgy. How could the manager not have been involved in this concerted effort to fabricate cause for OP's termination? So typical that management realized OP's value only after they removed themselves and their great work. Sounds to me like OP is more than $10,000 valuable, and it seems like maybe they got him a bit on the cheap side. Let's see a few of the reactions in the comments. Divided Thought said, the age old wisdom still holds up. Sometimes the only way to get management to understand why they're paying for the fire alarm is to start a fire in the mailroom. Baron of Ibelin said, with jobs that involve helping or fixing problems, your work is often difficult to show on paper, which is why a ticketing system might help. That being said, my own company has a decent ticketing system, but most of my clients don't open a ticket, and my life is filled with shoulder taps. Edge Miserable said, nice. Managers often don't appreciate the people who only help behind the scenes. Support staff is a huge deal. Klutzy Scallion replied, sometimes middle management doesn't get a choice. We sit there fuming, knowing someone deserves more, is working their butts off, but we are stuck under aging boomers who think they know more about our teams and what they do because they see us in a meeting once a month. If this was a member of my team, I would have been cheering them on as everything fell apart. Our second story is Mechanic tries to scam me, receives public embarrassment in return. I'm a 26-year-old female, and I do not look like I would know a single thing about cars. 5'3" with long blonde hair, soft, girly appearance, and an eternal baby face that makes me look about 15 to 16 years old. I drive a rather beat-up-looking 2004 Avalon. My dad and brother are both mechanics. Not my profession, but I've learned a thing or seven from them and am very comfortable working on cars. I'm only mentioning my appearance because it's pretty common for mechanics to assume that I'm an idiot about cars. A while back, I was pretty overwhelmed with life and didn't have a good space to do it, so I took my car in to get the oil changed. The place offered a free of charge, head-to-toe inspection for any repairs that might need to be made. I knew my car was fine. I had pretty recently changed the air filter and brake pads. Rotors had maybe 40K miles on them and were in great condition. New serpentine belt too. Literally just didn't feel like changing my oil. Relevant notes. Before I went to the shop, I actually checked my air filter and it was, in fact, pristine. Also, I usually call my dad while I'm working on my car so we can chat so he knows what repairs and maintenance I've done and that my car is well taken care of. After they changed my oil, the guy came back with the inspection results on a clipboard and was holding my air filter. He had this grave look on his face, like something was wrong. Mind you, this is a very busy place and there were lots of customers in the waiting room. He told me that we needed to go over the results because my car was about to be completely broken down and also not safe to drive if I didn't get several repairs done as soon as possible, because these were all completely shot. The repairs: new brake pads, new rotors, new calipers, replace serpentine and drive belt, new air filter, new compressor or my AC will not work, a heavy threat in the middle of summer in Florida, and a couple more generic things. He showed me my air filter that was filled with dead grass, a dead wasp, some dirt, and hair. Bruh, he really scooped some BS off the shop floor and put it in my new air filter to try and freak me out. The total? About $1,500 worth of work. It would be more expensive anywhere else, but he was willing to give me a deal. So I immediately start buying myself time by asking some basic questions that I knew he would have to explain, so I could nod at him all wide-eyed while I came up with a good way to respond to what he was doing. What does the serpentine belt do? Is it important? Etc. I texted my dad. I'm calling in a sec, just play along. Told the guy, oh my God, that's so scary. I can't believe I was driving around like that. Thank you so much for caring. I don't have the money, so let me call my dad real quick to see if he can help me out. I can't afford this. I then proceeded to enhance my dramatic performance by even working up a tear while I called my dad. The guy is standing there with me in front of all the customers. I put my phone on speaker and gave my dad a whole sob story about how I need money again. I'm so sorry. Can he help me? He asked what the repairs were and how much. I said, I don't know, but it sounds really bad. He says that it's dangerous. Dad, I can't be without a car. What am I going to do? Then I asked the guy to tell my dad what the repairs were. He rattles it all off, and my dad is playing his part perfectly. Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness. I'm glad you caught this so she's not in danger anymore. Little did this scammer know he was the one in danger. He hands the phone back, and I drop the facade and start laughing really hard. As soon as Dad hears me, he started scream cackling into the phone. I said, Dad, do you hear this BS? Get this. He brought me my new air filter I just put in to show me how dirty it was. He pulled junk off the floor or something and rubbed it on there. Dad and I continue to crack up. The audience in the waiting room was also cracking up. Scammy Mechanny was beat red and completely at a loss for words. Head down and some stuttering was his response. I handed him my air filter and told him to go vacuum it out and make sure to let me see it before he put it back in. I sat and watched him put it back once it was clean and also watched him pull my car out to make sure he didn't do anything horrible while I wasn't looking. I might have taken it a little far, but I really hate when mechanics take advantage of people who don't know anything about cars. So this felt like a massive win. Big props to my dad for his performance and for teaching me about cars. She took it too far? What? That scammy Mechanny tried to defraud her. Embarrassing him a bit in front of customers is pretty paltry penance. You'd think he'd at least have the heart to own up to it and offer some compensation, but that would mean he had a conscience and wouldn't be scammy. I guess maybe I expect too much. As you can imagine, there's some pretty good anecdotes on this one. Okay, Cheetah said, I had something similar happen to me with the air filter. Guy brought out an air filter claiming it was mine and so filthy it was dangerous. I told him that wasn't my air filter. He asks me how I know, and I tell him I don't have a carburetor. Dude didn't think I'd notice he brought in this big round circle, and mine was a little rectangle. Still shaking my head 20 years later. OP replied, Dude, that's hilarious. He at least brought me the one from my car, but he had the nerve to put some gross crap in my new filter, so I don't know what's worse. Our PBM showed this. The local GM dealer where I bought a previous used car tried this on me. I needed something repaired legitimately. It was maybe 20 years ago, so I don't remember what. And when I go to pick it up, the guy comes out with a laundry list of stuff that must be fixed immediately. I'd made the mistake of asking how long the original repair would be because we were getting ready to leave on vacation. He rattles off a list of stuff that must be fixed, also tried to pull the I can't let you leave with it in this condition on me. I only had enough to pay for the original repair and told him I'd have to come back another day for anything else. I left and called my husband in a panic, thinking we were going to break down mid-trip. He calmed me down, and we had my dad look at what the guy mentioned. We were fine. I actually drove the car for several years afterwards and never had another major repair. As You Wish had this to say. I worked in auto for over 12 years and am ASE certified. I spent a chunk of that as a parts wholesaler. A friend of mine called me, genuinely shaken, telling me that the mechanic told her pretty much verbatim what the OP's mechanic said. I told my friend I'd look at her car and not to approve any work on it. I then asked where she was and found out it was a shop I had a great relationship with. I called up their manager and immediately went off on him about how he's messing with my friend, and that's not cool. I could hear the oh crap look on his face through the phone. He immediately tried apologizing to me about it, chalking it up to needing to make sales numbers, and offered to give my friend a free oil change next time. I was able to get her out of there incident-free, but after that, whenever the shop called for parts beyond oil changes and brake jobs, I'd say, Are you sure the customer needs it? Oh, and I'm a short blonde girl too. SR replied, You really think that the boss doesn't know about it? And now on to our final story. I broke up with my girlfriend over earpods today. It was awesome. My girlfriend is 22 and I'm 25, and we've been dating for almost a year now. She's in university, living in the university residence. I work full-time and have my own place. Her residence has some very strict rules, such as no male guests aside from parents and a strict curfew. This will be important later. We're not in the US, by the way. Before the Easter holidays, a few friends and I planned a road trip. I invited her, but she declined. The day before my road trip, I decided to get some new earbuds for the trip. My girlfriend came with me to the shop. Once there, my girlfriend decided that she would like a pair of Airpods. I relented and bought her a pair and got myself some Bose earbuds since I preferred those and I do not have an iPhone. On our way back to the university, she mentioned that she liked my earbuds since they looked better than her AirPods. She took them. paired them to her phone, and started playing around with them. I didn't think much of it until she said she wanted them and wanted to trade her AirPods with my earbuds. I told her no because I didn't have an iPhone, so AirPods would be useless to me. Found out later that they work pretty well on Android, and that we can exchange hers when I get back since going now would make her late for curfew. She kept insisting, saying that it would make her happy. I told her I needed them for my trip in the morning, which seemed to be the end of it. We got to her residence, and as I was parking, she threw her AirPods at me and said, "Thanks for the trade," then jumped out of the moving car, still wearing my earbuds. I was shocked, and it took me a second to realize that she had just ran away with my earbuds. I parked and then ran after her, but I wasn't fast enough. She had already entered the building. I stood at the entrance with two very burly guards giving me the stink eye while I shouted for her to come back. She just blew me a kiss and went upstairs. I shouted a bit more until the guards very politely asked me to leave. I was livid. She had just robbed me and there was nothing I could do. I stalked back to my car, fuming and cursing. However, I started laughing when I got to my car because there on the ground near the passenger side door was a lovely white box. It seems, in her mad dash to run away, she had accidentally dropped the charging case. I picked it up, my day suddenly brighter, and drove back to the shop. I exchanged the AirPods and got new earbuds, then blocked her, and the next morning went for my road trip. I unblocked her when I got back yesterday, ready to deal with the fury storm, and called her. At first, she was sweet and asked about my trip. Then she asked if she had left the charging case for her earbuds in my car. I told her that I had returned the AirPods and exchanged them for new earbuds, and that since my new earbuds didn't work with my old charging case, I had thrown it away because I didn't need it. That triggered her, and she started shouting at me, calling me an a-hole and demanding that I get her a new pair of earbuds or we're done. I said, "Okay, I guess we're done," then hung up. Can you say entitled much? What's with this new class of women these days that think tantrums and acting like a child works? I mean, I guess if you're pretty enough, you can get by for a period of time, but you're not going to find anyone worthwhile because they'd never put up with it. Am I wrong here? Is this on the rise or has it always been this way? Luckily, the comments were all one sided. Let's see what others thought. Random House said, "You didn't break up with her over earbuds. You broke up with her because you saw how badly she treats you after 1 year of dating and how self centered she is. Good on you for seeing her clearly now and ditching her." Beast Mode said, "How are you dropping that much money on someone so terrible is beyond me." OP replied, "No one has ever accused me of being smart, sadly." Screechy Pete gets the final word with, "My buddy broke up with his girlfriend because she turned off his PlayStation in the middle of a game when she wanted to talk to him. Obviously, that wasn't the real reason they broke up. There was a bunch of other stuff, but it was just the straw that broke the camel's back." If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.